All right, this is December 9th, the year 2016. This comes from Edward Brown's letter number 6, exhibit number 2, and there's 2 pages with the title of Sovereign, and it's called exhibit number 2. There is a movement within our country by persons who are reclaiming the sovereignty that is rightfully inherent in the people of this land. By definition, as sovereigns, we are free to be and do anything we want. At first glance, this seemed to imply that the sovereign is free of all social and moral constraints. Without qualification, this could lead to what might be termed sovereign immunity syndrome, i.e., a condition whereby one believes he or she is the only sovereign and therefore is above the law, as opposed to a sovereign who is surrounded by a whole world of other sovereigns, each having been endowed with the same unalienable rights. Common law has 2 major governing precepts. First, as a sovereign, one is free to be and do anything else he or she pleases as long as whatever is done does not injure another sovereign in his or her person, character, or property. And second, that the sovereign honor of all contracts and agreements that were entered into knowingly, voluntarily, and willingly. To have freedom as a sovereign requires responsibility, because one becomes aware of his or her sovereignty does not grant license to ride roughshod over whoever gets in the way or whoever doesn't have the same awareness of his or her sovereignty. The genuine sovereign will give respect to all other sovereigns, even those who may not be currently aware that they are sovereign. There is no asking permission to be a sovereign. If you were born and are a real flesh and blood human, you are sovereign. That does not, however, guarantee that the sovereignty potential has been actualized. There is a Latin term in law, res ipsa loquitur, which means the thing speaks for itself. If one is truly living as a sovereign, it will speak for itself. Unfortunately, in our land, the vast majority are sovereigns who have yet to realize and actualize their potential. The term sovereign is defined in Webster Dictionary as having supreme rank, power, and authority, being above all others, rightful status of independence and prerogative. In Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, sovereign is defined as a person, body, or state in which independent and supreme authority is vested, a chief ruler with supreme power, a king or other ruler in a monarchy. Prior to the statutory maze that now curses the citizenry of this land, we were subject to the law of the land. The United States, by way of the Constitution, adopted the common laws of England, Caldwell v. Hill, 176 SC 383, 1934. The law of the land means the common law, Taylor v. Porter, 4 Hill, 140, 146, State v. Simon, 2 Spears, SPEARS, 761, 767. The Constitution was adopted and made by people in their capacity as sovereigns. Therefore, as a whole, the United States emanates from the people. Thus, the laws and constitutions of the several states are subordinate to the Constitution of the United States and the laws made pursuant to it. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and source of law. Yick Wo versus Hopkins and Wu Lee versus Hopkins, 118 U.S. 356. Here in America, sovereignty rests with the people. Chisholm versus Georgia, 2 Dall, D-A-L-L, 415, 472. To the Constitution of the United States, the term sovereign is totally unknown. There is but one place where it could have been used with propriety, but even in that place it would not perhaps have comported with the delicacy of those who ordained and established the Constitution. They might have announced themselves sovereign people of the United States, but serenely conscious of the fact, they avoided the ostentatious declaration. Chisholm versus Georgia, 2 Dall, D-A-L-L, 440, 455. Thus, the people themselves, either singly or collectively, are sovereign, supra at 456, over both the state and the federal government, and are true sovereigns within this nation. It will be admitted on all hands that the exception of the powers granted to the states and the federal government through the constitutions, the people of the several states are unconditionally sovereign within their respective states. Ohio LINST Company versus DeBolt. Let's see. UPS just arrived. Let me just check. All right, sorry about that. That was very strange. For the first time in 9 years, there was 2 UPS men to deliver my packages. I've never seen that. Not only that, but it wasn't the normal guy. There's normally a guy that I recognize. This was 2 new individuals. Very strange. Anyway, reading on with the Ed Brown Sovereign letter. Ohio LINST CO DeBolt 16 HOW 416 14 LED 997. The people of the state, as the successors of its former sovereign, are entitled to all rights which formerly belonged to the king by his own prerogative. Lansing versus Smith, 1829, 4 Wendell 9, New York. The privileges and immunities of a citizen of Minnesota are completely different than those of a citizen of the United States. C.K. Tashiro versus Jordan, 1927, 201, CAL 236, 246, 256, page 545. The United States Supreme Court in National City Bank versus Republic of China, 348 U.S. 356, 99 LED 389, 75 SCT 423, 1955. Stated at page 363, the Court of Claims is available to foreign nationals or their governments. The executive branch's agency, the Internal Revenue Service, has also recognized this by stating in their publications that non-resident alien state citizens must take their cases to the Court of Claims, as they do not have standing in the federal district court or the tax court. This premise is based on the fact that the immunity rests upon the grounds that no enforceable right exists against the authority that makes the law on which the right depends. Kawanakoa versus Polybank, 205 U.S. 349, 353. And it is undisputable that the citizens of the several states united granted limited powers to the federal government because the people are vested with complete sovereignty. Note, uppercase C for citizen of state republic and lowercase c for citizen of federal DC democracy. All right, that's Ed Brown's write-up that he sent me on Sovereign.